Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where we develop tomorrow's leaders by bringing you up close and personal with today's top business people. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Thank you, Evan. Today's guest is David Heenan, trustee of the estate of James Campbell, former chairman and CEO of Theo H. Davies and Company Limited, and former vice president for academic affairs and dean of the business school at the University of Hawaii. Mr. Heenan is also a noted author of 6 books, including his newest book, Flight Capital. Please welcome to Greater Good Radio, David Heenan. Welcome to our show, David.
Thank you. The House of Leong, I'm delighted to be here.
You're a former executive of Citicorp.
Formerly with Citicorp, formerly with Jardine Matheson, which owned Theo Davies and Company. Yeah.
How long were you there, and what did you do with them?
At Citicorp?
Yes.
That was in New York. I was in charge of something called executive planning and development. It was really strategic planning, but I was primarily on the international side. I did that for 3 years. Before that, I had been teaching at the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, and Citibank was one of my consulting clients, and on the basis of that, they offered me a job and the opportunity particularly to go overseas, and that was of great appeal to me. So I wound up in New York for 3 years and was actually all set to go to the Philippines when the deanship at the University of Hawaii's Business School opened up. I was 34 at the time. It seemed like an interesting thing to do. It was definitely a break, but lo and behold, I came out here.
Were you the youngest business dean?
I think I was actually at that time, yeah, nationally, yeah. It was the date was April 1st, 1975.
So were you born and raised in Hawaii, or you were born and raised elsewhere?
No, I was born and raised in the great city of Boston, and grew up in New England, went to college in the South, went to William & Mary, which is, if you've ever been to Colonial Williamsburg, had a great time there. After that, I went in the Marine Corps, was a pilot for 5 years. On the basis of that, came back out, went to Columbia, got my MBA, met my wife, got married in New York. We then went overseas. I worked for an oil company by the name of Caltex Oil. We were in Asia and did that for a bit, and then came back to the Wharton School, got a PhD there, taught there, and that in turn put me in touch with Citicorp.
So how did you get involved with the estate of James Campbell? I
had been at Theo Davies for a little over a dozen years, and there was an opening up, and as happens with Campbell Estate trustees, the family essentially does a search, either independently or with a search firm, and puts out a net, and happily I was one of the fish swimming in the net, and came on board really 10 years ago. So it's been a great run.
So you were teaching at this Wharton School. Then you went to go work with Citicorp, and then you went to the University of Hawaii to be the dean, right?
Correct.
When you were in the corporate world, what are some important things that you learned from working with a large corporation like that?
Well, it was, Citicorp in those days and today was very much a fast-track company. It was in financial services, like your good sponsor, but it was really a go-go company. They were engaged in a bunch of businesses. The exciting thing about them is that they hired very, very good people. They paid you well. If you're a younger person, they get you into running profit centers early in the game, so you didn't go through laborious training programs and a lot of sort of Mickey Mouse stuff that happens with other employees. They really threw you into things very quickly, and if you wanted to work overseas, which I did, they made that opportunity available to you. So it was a very, very exciting place, and I had this very interesting job for a year. It was a special assignment for the chairman and the president to really track and identify all of their high potential people and their group they call corporate property, their most promising folks, and get involved in their development and moving them around the world. That was a real kick.
So it seems like you're kind of bouncing back and forth between corporate life and educating life.
Yeah, I've failed at a lot of things. No, I have bopped back and forth, and at some point during the show we might talk. I wrote a book about the subject called Double Lives, and it really suggests that we all have at least one other life in us, and let yourself go and dabble in it. You'll make yourself a lot more interesting individually and to others around you.
So would academia be one life, and then business world be the second life for you?
Academia is one. The business world's another. My writing, I think, is a separate life as well, and those are essentially the three.
Your triple life, then.
A triple life, yeah. And then you have guys like Winston Churchill that had about 10 lives. He was a painter, a speaker, a statesman, a pilot, a bricklayer. A great poet and writer, won a Nobel Prize in literature. Amazing guy. A guy always reinventing himself, and I think that really is one of the lessons of the Double Lives book, and just trying to inject more balance in your lives generally.